Hello, Packer fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast. It is our pregame show for Packers versus Vikings. Uh, as I've already said, I will be at the game at Lambeau Field. So we're recording this on Saturday morning based on the injury report for Friday. Please keep that in mind. There might be injury updates as we get closer to the game. But I do feel like we have enough information that we can put together some solid predictions for this game. So let's jump right into it with the injury report. This is the most important injury report of the week. So let's jump into it. We've got our injury report from Packers.com. Packers have listed running back Josh Jacobs among 6 players questionable for the game, including Matthew Golden, Savion Williams, Donatavian Wicks, Carl Brooks, and Lucas Van Ness. Quay Walker, neck is doubtful. Nate Hobbs and Jaden Reed, and we're going to talk about that in a second, have been ruled out. The Packers open Reed's 21-day window to return from injured reserve on Friday. So let's skip right back. Okay, so we got some clarification here really quickly. Jacobs left the game after 12 plays due to a bone bruise and thigh contusion he suffered in the game. Okay, so let's get to the actual report here. All right, Aaron Banks, limited participation on Friday. That's probably veteran rest, so I'm not worried about that. Carl Brooks is truly questionable for this game. He did limitedly participate on Friday. It would not surprise me if Carl Brooks does not play in this game, so we're going to have to watch that. Looks like Javon Bullard had limited participation, probably just resting that ankle injury, but he looks like he'll be good to go for this week. Edrin Cooper, good to go for this week. Romeo Dobbs, full participation on Friday, which we were hoping for. He is good to go for this week. Matthew Golden, limited participation Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and is questionable for the game. We know Nate Hobbs will be out. Josh Jacobs, limited participation Wednesday and Thursday. He is truly questionable. I would consider Josh Jacobs a game time decision. If the Packers feel that him playing will not further injure him and keep him out for the game on Thursday, I expect Josh Jacobs to play, and then it'll be just a question of pain management. For example, if he gets hit on the same leg, say he gets a helmet to that area, he might be knocked out of the game just because it's an abundance of caution for the game on Thursday. So we're going to watch Josh Jacobs very carefully. We won't really know about him until we have the designations of active, inactive an hour and a half before the game. Jordan Love, full participant. Brandon McManus, full participant. Bo Melton was limited on Thursday, full participation. He's good to go. Keyshawn Nixon, good to go for this game. Micah Parsons, good to go for this game. Jaden Reed, who now has 21 days as of Friday, is going to be out for the game. But this is really huge because if you look at the time frame for his injury, it was always going to be 8 to 9 weeks, depending on how quickly his collarbone was able to take an impact. That's the important thing, is we want to make sure he doesn't get re-injured and have a significant injury as a result. So Jaden Reed, my prediction is Jaden Reed will be back for limited snaps on Thursday. That's my prediction. I haven't heard anything. This is just how it's kind of penciling out. If Jaden Reed can get back on Thursday for the game against the Lions and maybe be used as a third wide receiver in the slot on third down plays, I think that's going to be a huge upgrade for this offense because Jaden Reed is a very reliable receiver. And what's the biggest issue we've had so far this season? Drops. That's been a problem the last 3 weeks. So having Jaden Reed in the game would be huge for Thursday. We're going to watch that very closely. Quay Walker is doubtful for this game. I am going to tell you right now, they will probably not have Quay Walker this week because they want to increase the chances he's back for next week. So look for Quay Walker to be out this week. They'll probably elevate a linebacker from the practice squad for this game. Christian Watson, full participation. He will be good to go. And I think we can assume he's not going to be on a limited snap count. And in particular, this is important because every practice, Christian Watson has been limited participation until Friday. This is the first practice where he fully participated. So this tells me the coaching and medical staff are saying, you are good to go, Christian Watson. You will be in there every snap of the game. And that's huge news for the Packers. Donatavian Wicks, limited participation all week. He is questionable. I feel he'll probably be good to go because he's played with that calf injury every week for the last 2 weeks. Savion Williams is questionable. He did not participate. This is important. Did not participate on Wednesday. Limited participation Thursday. Did not participate on Friday. That tells me Savion Williams is probably not going to play this week, which is probably for the best because he's been dealing with a nagging foot injury and they want to get him back to 100%. Now let's look at the Minnesota Vikings for this game. Jonathan Allen, limited participation on Friday. That was a rest. Okay. Christian Barishaw, looks like he'll be good to go for this game. Will Freeze, looks like he'll be good to go for this game. Jonathan Grenard, questionable after limited participation the last 2 days. This is a big impact on their ability to rush the passer, so we're going to watch that very closely. But it looks like JJ is going to have his offensive line intact. Jonathan Hargrove, limited participation, but he will be able to go. Aaron Jones, full participation. He will be playing. Kelly Riley, concussion, fully participated all 3 days, but was questionable. I think he'll be able to play if he practiced all 3 days this week. But you never know with a concussion until the day of the game, because with a concussion, you can easily have a setback. So I think that's why they put him as questionable. But if you went by the old rules for injury designations, I think he would probably be considered probable for this game. And that is your Vikings. So let's switch right over to the matchup, since this is our pregame show. So we've got our matchup, Minnesota Vikings 4-6, Green Bay Packers 6-3-1. Both teams have struggled against the spread, so this is going to be interesting to watch. The spread of this game is currently 6.5 points. Does that change in this game? We're going to have to watch that pretty closely. So we've got clear skies, 34 degrees expected as a low for the game. The high for the game, and the game is going to be kicked off at noon. The high at Green Bay is expected to be 49 degrees. So I think you're going to probably have 45 to 49 degrees for this game. It's going to be a cold weather game, but there's not going to be any snow, no frozen tundra, unfortunately. I'm personally very disappointed in this because I planned on this game being my snow game of the year at Lambeau Field, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Might have to wait until the playoffs or next year to get my snow game for the Packers. So very excited about that. So let's look at this game overall. We've got Power rankings. The Vikings are 18th. Packers are 4th. Power rankings defense. Minnesota is 17th. Packers are 13th. Offense. Packers are 5th. And the Minnesota Vikings are 28th. Looking at run percentage, the Packers definitely run the ball more, but both of these teams are very pass heavy, with the Vikings at almost 66% for pass plays. So we're going to see a lot of passing for the Minnesota Vikings. That makes sense. It's the strength of their team. Unfortunately, J.J. McCarthy is playing very badly, and we'll see that in a second. So let's look at the quarterback comparison here. PFF grade. McCarthy is 54.6. Jordan Love is 84.4. That is a huge difference in quarterbacks. Passer rating clean. Jordan Love is 127.5. And J.J. McCarthy, even with a clean pocket, is only rated at 63.5. That tells you everything you need to know about this matchup. Big time throws. Jordan Love is 44.88%. J.J. McCarthy is 5.71%. But this is the big thing right here. Turnover-worthy plays. J.J. McCarthy is first in the league in turnover-worthy play rate of 6.29%. So almost 7% of his passes are possibly intercepted. That is a horrible rating for the Vikings. And if the Packers can actually catch some interceptions this week, that is a good sign for the Packers. Power rankings for the quarterbacks only: 1.5 for J.J. McCarthy, 4.5 for the Jordan Love. Jordan Love is the 9th rated quarterback, and J.J. McCarthy is the 21st rated quarterback, but I think it's even lower over the last couple weeks. So let's take a look at the matchups now in this game. We'll start out with the Packers on defense, base personnel, and the Vikings will start out with 2 tight end formation. As we can see here, McKinney, Williams, Cooper, and McDuffie, who McDuffie is going to move over to the mic in this game, and we'll probably have Hopper in as the 3rd linebacker in the base defense. I'm excited to see if Hopper can play up to a higher level of play with extended playing time. And I think we're going to see that in this game. We have to remember Walker's probably going to leave after this year. So it's really good to see McDuffie in the mic and Hopper in the Sam, because that's probably what we're looking at for next year. So it's really good to see that Hopper get into this lineup. Carrington Valentine is the 5th rated corner in the NFL for PFF. Nixon is the 29th rated cornerback per PFF. So our secondary is actually playing really well. We have 2 elite safeties, and we have 2 elite corners. I don't want to hear negativity about this secondary because they're doing an amazing job. Carrington Valentine to be rated as the 5th rated corner halfway through the season as a 7th round pick is an amazing accomplishment for Brian Gutekunst and Carrington Valentine, and is a really big factor in the long-term success for this defense, because Carrington Valentine is a high-value player both in his ability to play and in his salary cap number, which is very important. We also have Micah Parsons. Watt has been very solid in the middle. We have Colby Wooden possibly out this week. But what I think could happen here is Lucas Van Ness will get snaps, assuming he plays, at defensive tackle to reinforce the defensive tackle ranks. A lot of people forget that Lucas Van Ness was a defensive tackle in college, and there's no reason he can't play defensive tackle for the Packers. And Rashawn Gary has been very solid. Don't have to talk about Micah Parsons. He's the second best rated defensive end in the NFL. Now let's look at how this matches up. Obviously, we've got Jefferson and Addison that we have to worry about, as well as Hawkinson. But J.J. McCarthy has to get them the ball. Aaron Jones has been the 48th ranked running back, although he's had limited playing time because he's coming off of IR. How will Aaron Jones react to coming off of IR? This is his first action in 5 weeks. Will he be effective? You know he's going to have the juice and the energy to go against the Packers, but will he have any rust after being out for 5 weeks? Offensive line for the Vikings. They've put a lot of money in this line, and obviously it's paying off for them. It's a very solid offensive line. So strength versus strength here. And the cornerbacks are going to have to hold down against these receivers, but it really comes down to J.J. McCarthy. If J.J. McCarthy continues to struggle, this Packers defense will feast on the Vikings this weekend. Okay, let's look at 3 wide receiver sets for the Vikings. Most common set for the Minnesota Vikings is 3 wide receiver. We've got Nailers in the slot. Oh, let's switch the Packers to nickel. And we have Bullard in the slot as well. These look like very solid matchups for both teams. I think both the offense and defense for the Minnesota Vikings and the Packers are going to be very evenly matched when the Vikings are on the field with their offense. It's all going to come down to J.J. McCarthy, who's the 36th ranked quarterback as of right now per PFF. So let's switch this up. Let's go with Packers on offense. Let's go with 2 tight end sets. We're going to put the Vikings in their base defense. Safeties are not playing well here. In fact, the Minnesota Vikings are the worst team in the NFL at stopping big plays, while the Green Bay Packers are number 1 in the league in stopping big plays on defense. So we've got free safeties that can be targeted for big plays. Murphy Jr. has not lived up to expectations. He's 83rd ranked corner. And we've got Rodgers, who obviously has big play potential, but he's very streaky in his play, and he's the 38th ranked cornerback. The linebackers for the Vikings are very mid. Not very exciting here. 47th and 36th, respectively. The heart of their offense, or their defense, comes from the pass rush. They are the number 1 team as far as blitzing in the NFL. They're going to blitz early and often. Van Ginkel and Grenard are your designated pass rushers, along with the defensive line focusing on stopping the run. If Grenard doesn't play, that is a huge reduction in the effectiveness of the pass rush for the Minnesota Vikings, which will probably lead them to be more aggressive and have some safety blitzes or corner blitzes mixed in if Grenard cannot play. So we're going to watch for that very closely. For the Packers, Dobbs, very solid on the outside. Watson is the 17th rated wide receiver, far exceeding his expectations. Musgrave is kind of a disappointment right now. I would actually rather have Fitzpatrick out there as tight end number 1 and actually have an extra lineman, which we saw last week against the Giants, instead of Musgrave. Musgrave right now isn't playing to his full potential. Now, Matt LaFleur said he was going to try to get Musgrave more snaps in this game. I don't know if that's just coach speak or if it's a reality, but we're going to have to watch that very closely. Looking at the offensive line for the Packers, Zach Tom is playing very well. Rasheed Walker is not playing great, Aaron Banks is actually playing better the last couple weeks. Sean Ryan is playing okay at center, and Jordan Morgan is playing fairly well at right guard. So we've got strength versus strength here. Can the Packers' offensive line hold up long enough for Jordan Love to find the open man against the blitz? Josh Jacobs, hopefully he will play. And Jordan Love, we know he will play. So let's take a look at 3 wide receiver. So this is where they bring in Moreau. Murphy tends to move into the slot. And that'll be an interesting matchup, Watson versus Monroe or Dobbs, if Dobbs is on the side of Moreau. We've got Rodgers and Murphy. Overall, I would say 3 wide receiver sets especially favor the Packers, given the fact that the safeties for the Vikings are a liability. So if we can make some big plays out of 3 wide receiver sets, that will really help the Packers succeed in this game. So that is our matchups for this week. And let's now switch back to our main picture for my prediction of this game. So one thing I would like to see in this game is I would like to see the Packers put a whipping on the Vikings. But number one, I need as many Packers as possible to be healthy for the game against the Lions next week. That is the bigger game. I'd like to see the Packers come out with a win. Regardless, we need as many wins as possible. We need to stack wins over the next couple weeks to have a legitimate chance at winning the division. My prediction for this game, and you've heard this number many times, 27-17 Packers. 27 has so many meanings for the Packers that I'm going to be rooting for 27 as much as possible for the results for the Packers, as long as it's more than the opponent, right? That's what matters. So I'd like to see the Packers win 27-17 in this game with all players coming out healthy and ready to play the Lions. That's my prediction. So what we're going to do for the rest of this week, I will be traveling to the game to Lambeau tomorrow. I will give you a quick video on the elevations for this game. It's very important for both the Vikings and the Packers, and we'll talk about it tomorrow, looking at the elevations for both teams. Then on Sunday, I'll be heading to the stadium. I will try to give you an update on actives, inactives, even if it's just quickly from the stadium, to give you an idea on who's playing and who is not playing in this game. And then after the game, we'll have our post-game reaction show from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Looking forward to that and looking forward to talking to you then. Anybody who sees me out at the stadium, I'd love to say hi. Love to interact with my Packer fans. I'll be going early to the stadium so I could do some tailgating, enjoy the fun with the fans, which is the big reason I go to the games as much as possible live. So I'll be seeing you all at Lambeau on Sunday. Talk to you then. As always, go Pack Go, and we'll talk to you tomorrow with updates on elevations.